Hi, my name is Tyler Lund, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Veris Technologies. So first I want to welcome you, but then quickly want to apologize for the somewhat corny title we chose for this webinar, Opening Doors with the Veris U3, and you can see with this image here, we really just stumbled upon that graphic as we were looking at different images of the U3. We thought, man, that really is what this model is going to do. And really what we're thinking about is that it's opening three main doors. For growers, that's the most important door. So we're opening new opportunities for them to manage their inputs, site specifically. Within that field, there's going to be different rates of seed, fertilizer, lime, irrigation, or drainage that's needed. And what's really driving that is going to be the soil. And if we can accurately characterize that soil, we're going to open up a lot of opportunities there. Second is for the service provider, the retailer, the seed rep, whoever it might be who's going to actually go out and do that mapping if it's not the farmer. Third, just what is unique about this model opening up opportunities to new people to get involved. And that's what we're going to cover today as we talk about the U3, how it opens opportunities for farmers, how it opens up opportunities for service providers, and then just kind of look at the actual equipment and see how is it widening the opportunity to get in the field, but also the economics of mapping, how it changes that. I hope that you'll participate. There's a little chat box. You can ask questions there. If I don't cover kind of your questions, be sure to ask it there or get in touch with us afterwards. I really like this quote from the famous management consultant Peter Drucker. You can't manage what you don't measure. And in precision ag, we want to be able to manage all the soil variability, but we can't manage it unless we measure it. And I really like how this was keyed in on by a grower who was quoted in this article that talked about our new platform. And it had to do with why he's held back from implementing precision ag. He's got the technology, but really it was the risks he saw. He said, I've looked at variable rate population maps, and I just don't feel they were accurate enough to be confident in them. He just didn't think they were accurate. He didn't want to try to manage variability he hadn't measured and had a good map for. And you can see the variability. This is a pH map. Pretty big field, 2.5 acre grids, really densely sampled with a Veris sensor. And we can see, inside a 2.5 acre grid just how much variability there is. And so we may have come out here with a four-wheeler, taken a soil sample and sent it to the laboratory and found out, we thought this whole thing was this whole 2.5 acre grid was a 5.5. In reality, there's a lot of variability there. And so we may believe we've measured, but we're mismanaging a good portion of that. And we can see that across this field. And when we do that, and we maybe instead actually we stopped our four-wheeler at the 6.9, got a sample, and we ended up not liming. And what does that do? That leaves a good portion of this 2.5 acre grid and the full field, these pockets that are mismanaged with a lot of reduced nutrient availability. And that has impacts on the plant, and in the end has a pretty big impact on the bottom line. So if we had left this pocket unlimed, we'd be looking at underperformance at about 17 to 20% of its potential of the yield. And again, if we had accidentally got on this side and mismanaged the high pH and actually put lime on a 7.2, we could be taking it the other direction. And so this idea of measuring and managing, we've got to measure at a really fine scale if we want to try to manage it. And so one of the questions is, well, is it just too much data? And it's a lot of data with a Veris sensor. As you're going across the field, it looks a lot like a yield map to some extent, that dense data, high resolution. You can see the zones without a computer contouring or interpolating. And we can overlay different soil map. This is the USDA soil survey, and we can see pockets of missed variability. And when we miss variability, we mismanage. We can look at that with a 2.5 acre grid. And in that final map, we can see just how much mismanagement there'd be. The full field variability from the heaviest soil, the best soil, to the worst soil exists in many of these 2.5 acre grids. And so if our goal is to put the right rate of seed on, let's see, these are 30 by 30 cells, so this isn't even taking advantage of planter, row by row shutoff. If you're planting these cells, we're going to plant the wrong seed rate in a good portion of this field because of an inaccurate map for seeding. And what's the cost of that? A lot of growers want to ask, well, it's better than when I was planting a flat rate. And in some instances it is, but what we're looking to do is reduce the amount of overpopulated and underpopulated areas. We want to challenge that good soil with a high seed rate, and we want to pull back on areas that can't handle that higher population. But what happens is if we make that mistake, we're going to overpopulate, and we're going to see a lot more tip back and nubbins and ears that just ran out of water, ran out of nutrients, and couldn't fill out. And on the other side, when we underpopulate, they may be beautiful looking ears, but they're not what we want. We'd rather see more plants out there that don't have excess moisture and actually do have to tip back a little bit. And what happens is when we misapply population, whether it's by a flat rate and not implementing Precision Ag or implementing it in the wrong way, we can cause problems. The goal is to get each acre to reach its potential and to just push it, but not too far that we're wasting resources and running out. We did a study to try to find out, well, okay, dollars and cents, what's this add up to, this mismanagement, and we put some numbers to it. We did about 7 states, mostly Corn Belt states, mostly the core of the Corn Belt, and we just said, all right, what's the analysis? What's the difference between these different Precision Ag guides? And we found that this level of difference is what we saw. And this isn't really what that grower from Indiana was talking about in that Corn and Soybean Digest article. He wasn't saying, oh, I'm worried about not getting the full potential. He was worried about what this next graph shows. What happens when I get it wrong? Because if there's a benefit to being right with Precision Ag, there's a cost to being wrong if I do it incorrectly. And what this shows is how the earlier numbers was just the average. This is the average return. But what happens when we use a bad map? It's possible that we can actually go the wrong direction and have an economic hit or near zero gain because we are putting, when that soil actually deserved a 28,000, and because we had an inaccurate guide and we pushed that instead of 28 to 38 or 36, that's a huge overpopulation. And the same thing on the other side. That good soil, when you accidentally underpopulate it, there's a lot of missed opportunity there. And so that's what that grower is getting at, and that's what advisors are getting at with these tools, is wanting to meet that full potential. And it's not just seeding. The doors that are being opened to site-specific management, yeah, it's getting on a lot of people's planters. They're having that technology. They want to make use of it. Same with fertility. They want to be able to sample by zone, and the concept there is that where my soil changes, there changes the nutrient use, loss, and storage capabilities. I want to put the right amount of lime. I don't want to, and especially in these times, I don't want to put lime where it's not needed, and I want to put the right rate so I can get my maximum return on that investment. And with herbicide, with Roundup not being as effective, we're getting back more and more towards these soil-applied herbicides, and almost all labels for these soil-applied have a texture and organic matter label about where to pull back on rates and where you need to push. And whether it's irrigation or drainage, that soil can drive those decisions. And so as a grower sits down and tries to make decisions about all of his inputs, it does come back to the soil. Soil matters. It's at the root of everything we grow, and it can be at the root or the foundation of all of our decisions we make. So in addition to opening doors to, if anybody has questions, please feel free to be asking those in the chat. window down there. In addition to these opportunities for growers, we want to talk about what are some of the opportunities that are opening up for the service provider. I was speaking at I think it was just a conference of all the crop consultants in Nebraska, and I was in Omaha, and I had to pull out a quote from Warren Buffett because I was in Omaha, and at first they didn't understand how this related to their business or their service, but in business, Warren Buffett says he looks for economic castles that are protected by unbreachable moats. And that's what we need to do in our precision ag programs too. We don't want to build a program that can be easily replicated or is not going to create a lasting relationship with that customer. And here's two pictures of our Varis MSP3 on the left and the new U-Series UTV base model on the right. And what's unique about this precision ag service is both these pictures are in a field, in a farm field, in a grower's backyard, at least on the right. And that's unique. A lot of these solutions are now being delivered maybe from satellite imagery, or I'm going to mine your yield data or your georeferenced oil pressure data and send it all to the cloud. What's unique about Varis soil mapping is you are going to be in the farmer's field getting his soil on your boots, and you're going to characterize, map at a very fine scale his most valuable asset. And there's something unique about that. Something it's not that unique. Actually, what's unique, what's cool is that this is a relationship a farmer is used to having with a service provider. He's paying somebody to spray or spread. He's used to writing a check for somebody to be in his field doing work. If you've ever tried to sell an app or data analysis, it's somewhat hard, an algorithm. But selling work and a solution that makes him money, that's an easier sell. And so this is cool that you're able to be in their field, and not only are you mapping their farm field for that year, that data is going to be useful because you're mapping the core properties that don't change quickly over time. You're going to be able to use that data to help them manage all those inputs, or just one if you're a seed dealer and you just want to focus on that. But it does give you the opportunity to manage a lot of inputs for many years, and really it's an anchor service with that customer to keep them from being attracted to some shiny object often somebody else is offering. It really is a good core add-on service. So those are the two models that map all three soil properties of organic matter, electrical conductivity or texture, and pH. And the opportunities, there's profit in the mapping. I guess I can send you guys, if you're interested, the ROI analysis of, all right, if I charge this much and my equipment cost is this, it's a profitable endeavor to go mapping. And it's nothing new with the U3. It maybe allows you to get over more acres, and it gives you a little bit of flexibility because of the lower investment and only needing a UTV, and maybe you already have that, or a pickup. You can maybe go a little bit lower in these lean times on the per acre charge, and because you're able to cover more acres. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility to make those numbers work for you and for your growers. It's somewhat easy to anticipate how many acres you might be able to book and what the revenue is going to be. Some of the intangible benefits of mapping with the Varis system is if you're selling seed or some other service or input, how it helps you get on new acres. If you're trying to expand your territory and you can go to a grower and say, hey, that field that you're having trouble with, why don't we map that and put some of our seed on it? We can get the right hybrid there and really make the most of it. And it can help you find ways to get on new acres. And that's a very profitable aspect of Varis mapping. The other intangible is, if you're one of those areas where the seed on a field goes back and forth from a couple different companies, and you want to kind of anchor it and make it less likely that you're going to lose and have to win back those acres, Varis mapping and understanding that farmer's field really can help you start to establish yourself in that relationship and keep it from doing that seesaw. The other benefit to mapping is once you get the real benefit, actually, is once you get that data, what you're able to do with it. Because you have mapping variability that's profitable, but the real success you're going to have and your growers are going to have is when you start managing that variability. And we've created online tools with Field Fusion, a website that allows you to take that data and write prescriptions with it, is what all you can manage with it and what all opportunities there are for being part of that solution. And so yeah, you've got the first year you did the mapping, and then maybe two of the fields were going into corn, so you wrote a seeding prescription, so you've got that revenue from that first off. And then the second year, the other two fields are in corn, so you write prescriptions and you manage the nitrogen. So you've got some more recurring revenue, that trailing commission that comes along with Verus mapping. And the third year, you're back to corn on those other pivots, and you're writing nitrogen, and the grower decides to do a variable variety of his soybeans, and you're part of that solution as well. And you can see that first pass through that field, that very important and profitable pass, continues to benefit you and the grower for many years. What's unique about the U3 is it's on a UTV, and what we did to make it UTV compatible, we'll go through some of that in just a sec. But the benefits of it it is a lot easier to use than other platforms that were tractor based. Still collecting great data, but we've really tried to take it and make it as user friendly as possible. It doesn't take a day of training. You can hook it up to a UTV or a pickup and go map. So with that, if you're somebody who's got customers and they've got time in the fall after harvest and they want to maybe do their own mapping, you could have these on your lot and rent them to your growers. I think of it kind of like the seed tender I go get every year when it's time to plant. It's a great way for my seed rep to keep me coming back to him, is because he's got that seed tender, and all I have to do is come hook on, and I can make use of it when I need it. And he doesn't have to pay somebody to deliver the seed or anything. Same with mapping. If you have these on your lot, grower can come hook up. You give him a little 15, 20-minute overview. He goes and can map his farm field, and the benefit to you is a per acre rental. But then again, the real long-term benefit is being part of getting that data and helping them use that data. So that's a neat opportunity. And then there's also retail opportunities. If you're someone who just wants to get this solution to your growers, whether they may be big enough they want to buy one themselves, and you can be part of that sale process and then the data processing. And so there's service, retail, and rental options for you to get involved in. So those are the first two of opening up opportunities for growers and yourself. And then the unique things about the U3 that really widen the window of opportunity. This is a neat quote from a user of ours out in Colorado, and he was using the U3, riding along in it, and I think he got excited because he's used this Verus data. He has an MSP3, but what he said is something to key in on. With the more accessible U3, he can take these solutions to more growers at a lower cost. And that's really what we want to hear, is that it's more accessible. We have had solutions that are tractor-based, and we continue to think that this is going to be a successful model. It's our most popular model right now is the MSP3, which is tractor-based. And here's Crystal Valley Co-op. They're up in Minnesota. This is one of their rigs, and they bought it in the spring. They were so busy mapping that they called us up and ordered a second. And if you look at that, I'm impressed by it. I think it's huge. It's awesome, but accessible wouldn't be how I describe that. A CDL is required, a big investment on the truck and the tractor and the trailer. It's not as accessible as you'd think, but it is profitable. So profitable that they again called us up this fall during the horrible commodity prices we've had and asked us for a third unit. They are mapping and being very successful because they have explained the value to their growers and are showing it by helping them write very profitable seeding, lime. I think they're doing multi-hybrid prescriptions this fall or this spring. They're really taking that data and making use of it. But if you're not at a place where this type of an investment makes sense, is possible, we wanted to come up with an option that allowed you to do similar things. And that's where the U3 came in. It's going to widen the window to a lower investment, but also the window of mapping. You can get on a field earlier with a U3 or a UTV than you can with a tractor. And that might be one solution for a guy who really just needed to keep mapping in the south where it's always wet, it seems like. But it also allows, maybe you already have a pickup that you can hook onto and really lower that investment. We've used the John Deere's the Gator 825i, and that seems to be an appropriate amount of horsepower that's needed to pull it. We like to run in soybean stubble. The sensor itself can handle corn residue right after the combine. The fire risk with that is something to be managed, and so the diesels are something to look at as well. The way we're measuring these soil properties, the first is electrical conductivity. We're using an electrical array that passes down 2 feet into the soil and measures how conductive the soil is. Clay soils have a higher conductivity because of the small particles, and your sandy soils have a lower conductivity because they don't pass that electrical current very well. And so as we go across the field, every second it's making a reading of what the soil looks like in that deep rooting profile, about 2 feet. The organic matter sensor we're collecting that data underneath the soil surface for a couple reasons. We want to get away from the residue and also microtopography that can cause moisture differences at the surface. But down at about 2 inches, the difference in soil color relates to soil organic matter. And you can see that little infrared sensor light there. It's below a sapphire window. Above a sapphire window, we're looking at the color of the soil. And that helps us relate the readings to organic matter. And last, for pH, you can see right behind the optical sensor, that organic matter sensor, we've got about a 2-inch depth of where when we stop, the system automatically detects that you're slowing down and stopping and pops these electrodes down into the ground, gets us 2 repeatable pH readings in about 8 to 10 seconds, comes back up, wash jets, clean off the electrodes, and you're off to the next location. And with this, it really gives you the opportunity to get a high resolution pH map. You can do it at whatever interval you want, but we love that about ½ acre to 3/4 of an acre grid. At that level, you're really capturing pH and able to manage it well. I've been speeding through this, and putting up quotes, and I felt like I had to end with one, and this isn't as much business. Mark Twain says the secret of getting ahead is getting started, and that's what we think that this U3 is going to allow people to do, is get them started. They are going to be able to, at a lower investment and a wider window, be able to get out there and start mapping and help their growers manage this variability in their fields, because it's going to happen. We've got so many models and ways the folks are finding to make sense and make use of this data once it's collected. We're going this direction of a very detailed characterization of fields, and people want to be a part of it. They want to be in at the ground level, and this is going to make it a lot easier to get there. And so I'll leave you with that opening shot of the door opening, and just want to invite you to get in touch with us about kind of if you have any additional questions about the actual ways you put the data to use to help growers, or what it looks like in your business, please get in touch. Reply to that email that I sent you to get in online for this call, and we'll be happy to answer questions and help you get started mapping and managing soil variability. So thanks again for taking the time.